What is the music of volcano based on, and how the system is operating?
The volcano music is based on seismic data, which is captured from volcanoes, which scientists then use to try and predict volcanic eruptions or understand when volcanic eruptions are going to occur. The music is created by a special program which uses grid computing, so computers spread around Europe and the rest of the world. By taking these enormous amounts of data that are produced, there is a program which converts the graph, the seismogram, which is taken from the volcanoes, and turns it into audio signals as opposed to a visual graph. And this is a waveform which is the equivalent of putting your ear, a very large ear maybe, next to a volcano and listening to the rumbles inside. And what the technology can also do is then pick out the interesting points within those seismograms, within those graphs, and create musical melodies out of it, which then composers can take the basis of these musical melodies to make their own music.
And from what volcano exactly the music have been obtained?
They have obtained data for this project from 4 volcanoes, one in Italy. The whole project began in Italy, Mount Etna. The second volcano that became involved was Tungurahua, which is a volcano in Ecuador, and in fact has been in the news this last weekend as it erupted on Saturday and has been causing problems at Guayaquil airport in Ecuador. And the third and fourth volcanoes are volcanoes in the Philippines, Pinatubo and Mayon. Pinatubo is particularly famous for a very large eruption in 1991 when various techniques were used to try and predict volcanic eruptions, and they were able to evacuate people in time and save a very large number of lives. Though I must emphasise that the sonification technique was not one of those methods back in 1991. It was only the technique has only started to be developed and is still in the process of getting their final model for the prediction of volcanic eruptions.
How the volcanic eruption is predicting?
The idea is that by listening to the melodies that are created or to listening to the waveforms, they will be able to associate volcanic activity with the melodies or with changes in patterns within the melodies. And the idea is that as more volcanoes become involved in the project and provide data, they hope that they will be able to develop a standard model which can be used by researchers in different countries for their own volcanoes, which they then adapt to the specifics of their volcano in order to be able to work towards really identifying when an eruption is likely to occur.
Mm-hmm. And what other practices do you suggest?
For sonification. Sonification is, data sonification can be applied to anything where you have data. So it could be applied to economic models, it could be applied to stocks. In another project it has already been used for internet traffic. So looking at the amount of data that's going in, the patterns in the data, which is then converted into melodies and music. How
this technology will be developed in the future?
I think the main emphasis here really is moving towards having a system that really does work, that they can apply in amongst the various techniques that are used to predict volcanic eruptions. As I've already said, they are beginning to identify correlations between the seismogram and volcanic activity. So with more volcanoes becoming involved, the idea will be that in future years they will actually really be able to start using this technique to predict eruptions.